Hello and welcome back to another advent of code. This is for day 11, which I've actually solved, but had an issue with my audio. When I have my headphones on and then turn them off halfway through, I get like a weird echo throughout the video, so kind of lost that. But it was quite a long video, so I'll kind of just summarize what I've done. So for this is not what it is. It's like day 10, but I'd notice that another time. So for this, I created a class for a monkey. The problem is that we've basically got a group of monkeys, and they have a bunch of my items, these items, and they this is kind of like the level of worry I have about them having my things. And the gist was that each monkey will go through this list and do this operation, and then because nothing broke, I will divide that number by 3, and then we test whether it's divisible by that number. And if it is, we throw it to that monkey, otherwise we throw it to that monkey, and it just gets appended to the end of the items. And so we go through an order of monkeys, and for part 1 we do it 20 times. So after 20 times we then work out which monkey has seen the most items, and then we multiply those two numbers together to get that answer there. So this had a bit of parsing issues. So we've got a few kind of attributes for our class. We've got the ID, which is just that number there. It's not actually really useful. Items is just a list of the items that the monkey currently has. The operation is just that side of the equals, and then test is this number here, and then test true and false are these two numbers there, and processed is just how many times that we count a monkey, count an item. So there's a function parse which we use to generate a monkey. What I might do is give myself a bit more space here. So this kind of goes through each of the lines and puts it into the right place. We also have kind of the opposite of that. It was a fix me to say use an ID, which I now use, so I can remove that fix me. And so this is kind of used in a clone method that basically does to string, then makes a new monkey. And then we have a function process which will take all the monkeys, and ignoring this part for now, for part 1, for each item that monkey has, we say this monkey has processed something, then we apply the operation which is done here, and that basically checks whether it's got the text old, and if it does, then replace it with whatever current value it is, which is passed in. And then I noticed it only had multiply and plus, and so I just kind of match that, and otherwise we do none. And here we just do an exclamation mark to assume that we will have good input. And for part 1 we then divide by 3, and then we do this test and push it onto the true or false depending on what, and then we clear the current items that the monkey has. And then at the end we need to find of all the monkeys the 2 that have seen the most, and then multiply those numbers together. So that's reasonably good. And here we have like parsing the input, so we basically go by each line and wait until we get a blank line here, and when we do, we just parse the monkey and add it to the array. And then we also take a copy of it for part 2. Apologies for that noise, it was quite a loud door slamming in the wind. And then for part 1 we do 0 to 20, we process it, and then we print it out. So that's that, and part 2, which we'll just need to bust some caches. Part 2 looks like this. So here we basically say we're no longer going to be dividing by 3 in the middle of the process, which is here. So we're not doing this part. And we also need to do it 10,000 times. So I at first did this like brute force. Well, I just didn't do anything. I didn't divide by 3 and I just went. What is actually happening is it's timesing by potentially 19, or it's timesing by something at 10,000 times, and that just overflows. So what I instead did was I took, after the operation, the modulus of the lowest common multiple of all the test devices, and that is done at this point here. And it's not strictly the lowest common multiple. It is in this case, but that's just because all the divisors are actually primes, but it also doesn't need to be the lowest common multiple. It can just be any multiple of them. If it's the lowest, it's just a bit more efficient. And then for part 2, we do it 10,000 times and we pass in that mod, and it does basically the same thing, but it does it for part 2. And if we run that for day 11, it will compile and then run. Now the part 2 did take a bit longer, so I'm unsure why that. Yeah, so it's like, it's interesting, it like sometimes does it, sometimes doesn't. Yeah, so we get a pass for both of those, and then that weird error, that's a new one that I haven't seen before. But yeah, that is that, and it's a shame you couldn't see me go through and kind of work it out as I went, but that is just how the cookie crumbled. Need to remember that if my headphones are on, it's going to be a bad time. Right, so that is that.